Hey there, welcome to ATL and 29, a podcast that looks at the NBA from the starting point of Atlanta. My name is Kevin Chenard. I am here with Tyler Jones after the first of two games against the Chicago Bulls. The Hawks lost by two despite scoring 150 points. Um, what do you want to talk about tonight, Tyler?
I mean, it's kind of just a continuation of what we've been seeing with the Hawks. Defensively, pretty much since KP went out, it feels like. I think one thing that's pretty clear is that the lack of size is just a real problem for the Hawks overall. I'm talking overall. I want to I'll get into details in a second about this game in particular, but like just overall, since KP has gone down. You've seen the Hawks downsize in size just in general. They've played smaller lineups, and defensively, they're just not holding up anymore. There's too much pressure on Dyson Daniels and Nikhil Alexander Walker, um, where you know where it just feels like if those two together are on the floor, the Hawks are going to get a breakdown defensively somewhere on the perimeter. I haven't. I've really been disappointed with what Luke Kennard has provided as a defender overall when he plays, combined with his lack of aggression on offense. Uh, the Actually, I feel like Veet's been a little bit better.
Yes.
Zach's been Zach's been actually good, but like you're playing Luke Kennard, you're playing Asa Newell, whose defense is just like he's just literally just not strong enough to play center. Like if he's out there and he's asked to play center, he's not strong enough. Um, Mo's been good, but like Mo's offense has started to regress a bit, and Quinn always leans more on his offense than his defense. That's why Mo's playing less. A big problem child, though, defensively is just Jalen Johnson, and it's been a continuation of his relatively disappointing defense. He's providing no rim protection to start. So, and all the schemes where Kongu's asked to play up the floor, Jalen's kind of been MIA as a rim protector. And so like the defensive scheme just doesn't work. So you ask Kongu to play up to take away certain actions. They're not getting the proper help behind him. And so like it's getting them burnt on these pick and rolls. Uh Jalen's just kind of out there defensively. Like if he's not grabbing a defensive rebound, like he's kind of just floating out there defensively. And then you combine that with Trey coming back, like they just aren't like the defense is just not giving them a chance to win these games. Like the Hornets game was kind of a similar formula. I didn't watch the Spurs game. I missed the Spurs game, unfortunately, but like Trey didn't play in the Spurs game. But my point is, I think the larger point is that the defensive personnel, the Hawks are lacking defensive personnel in the rotations. It's too offensive focused, and they're just getting destroyed on the defensive end of the floor right now.
You said quite a lot, and I don't really dispute any of it. I mean, I that all sounds very like very reasonable things. Maybe we can sort of expand some of them. Maybe starting with Mo Gay, it's like you mentioned that he has regressed a little bit offensively, and I was glad that they used him to start the fourth quarter because they just again like they just don't have enough defensive bigs with Asa being as rough as he has been. Like you've only got three other players, Jalen, Mo, Onyeka. Like I just thought that starting that fourth quarter with Asa would have been just brutal. And so Quinn went to Mo, which I liked. I just kind of wish that they had set the minutes up a little bit better so that I want to see Trey playing a lot with Mo is the point I'm trying to make. Like I feel like
Yeah, yeah.
those two should go together more because you just have so little rim protection now that you get some of it when Mo's out there and you really don't otherwise. And it kind of works in that, Trey unlocks some of Mo's offense and Mo is the defender that you need to cover for Trey. So it feels like that's kind of a symbiotic relationship that, you know, you're not gonna play Mo for all of Trey's minutes, but if there's a way that you can get Trey in for all of Mo's minutes, that surely sounds good to me. But yeah, they it's funny because the question that, I wanted to ask Quinn about pregame was just you know, basically about how players 11 through 17 have basically just been a wash for the season. Like they've got nothing from the tail end of the bench. They've just had so many disastrous injuries. Jacob Toppin hurt, waived, uh, Eli Njai hurt, out for the season. And Folly Dante's had three injuries in about 3 weeks. He had like a sprained MCL, he had a concussion, and he has, what seems to be a very serious knee injury. And that one seems, of all of them, maybe actionable because if you don't have Chris Stapps and your other center is 6'8", like you got to get the rim protection from somewhere. And it's just time. Like they've got to get a center in here, somebody bigger, somebody who can give them some rim protection. Like it's just dire. And the thing about it to me is like Onyeka's good. He's not like an elite rim protector just because of his size, but he's really good. At the same time, like they've ground him to dust. Like he does not look like the same player that he was in late October. Like it's just different. Like they've used him too much because Kristaps hasn't been here, because N'Faly Dante hasn't been here, because he's basically the only center on the roster for 2 months now for the beginning of the regular season. It's like that takes a toll. You play him against every big player. You play him every game. He doesn't get a break. You play back to backs. He played that disastrous double overtime game in Philadelphia, followed by a game the next night against Jalen Duren. Like that's unreasonable. Like he does not have enough help, and I think people are almost going to unfairly criticize and critique what he's doing out there as a defender, not realizing the burden that he is being expected to take. Um, and things are going to change a little bit for him. Now that Trey's back, there's we'll get into that at some point, but there's a lot more, two on the ball at the point of attack, and then you got to rotate and try to cover behind him. But, you know, it's it's just it's just kind of grim, and I just feel like, you know, he does things on offense that are what's the best way to say this? Like they're sort of skill things on offense. They don't require him to be physically bursty. He's shooting threes. He's, a super smart screener, bounce passer, just setting things up with handoffs and bounce passes, cuts. Like they relied on him so much for offense. And, you don't see the regression as much on that end because he doesn't need that burst, but he needs it on the defensive end. And I think that's where he's lost it because they've just given him an unfair burden.
I don't know if it's the unfair burden or he's just not playing as much with Mo Gay, because when they started the season, he was also playing a lot of minutes next to Mo because they had Porzingis. Porzingis would start with Jalen, Okongwu would play with Mo. Those two together was making magic on the defensive end. It was a
Sure.
big reason why the Hawks were very good defensively to start this season.
I mean,
The
I'm
injury
even
to
going
Chris,
back multiple seasons. Like,
yeah, yeah.
yeah,
But like the lack of a center has forced Mo to play center more, which means naturally those two are playing together less. I think that more
yeah.
than anything else is why the defense is as bad as it is right They're just not getting enough minutes of Mo and Okongwu to playing together. Um, but the thing is, I don't know how you resolve that issue. Like we can say, okay, then play Jalen less. That's not happening. He's too valuable on the offensive end. Would you consider maybe playing Jalen at the three? That's a possibility, but then it's like Jalen's already playing 36 plus minutes every night. What are we doing here? Play Zach more. I mean, again, that's fine, but the issue is like, okay, Onyeka, Mo, you know, how many minutes are those two going to play? Like, how many are those two in particular going to play together? Are you going to trust Asa at all to play? I think Quinn's trying to find some combination where he get Asa into the game without Okongwu on the floor, so he can get to Okongwu Moge a bit more than what he's trying, and it's just not working. So I think they're kind of stuck until they get a backup center, so they can put Mo back into his better position, which is backing up Jalen 100% of the time instead of doing the tweener center thing, which is this like it's not necessarily that he's been bad at center, but the combination of players on this roster, like they don't have Jalen at the power forward position. If he were better defensively, maybe you can get away with Jalen Mo more on both sides of the floor. But like Jalen's just not holding up his end of the bargain on the defensive side of the floor. At
Yeah,
this point, I don't expect that to change anytime soon. So it's just like until the Hawks get, like you said, Kevin, until they literally sign a center that they can trust to play even like 5 or 8 minutes a night, just so that the Hawks can get 5 to 7 minutes of a Kongu and Mo on the floor together for a game like that. That could change that. Like that could elevate this Hawks defense to where we're not drawing dead like they are right now. Because like it just feels like the Hawks are drawing dead. It really hurts now that Trey is back, and it's unfortunate to say, Kevin, we talked about this in the preseason when it was Trey and Kristaps in pick and roll. Worried then, and I was like, I thought it was preseason, but I couldn't say I wasn't lying. I mean, I saw what you saw. Teams were just the Memphis Grizzlies in a preseason game, guys, were running spread pick and roll with KCP, just running the offense. And like the Grizzlies were just doing that. And then when Trey was guarding Spencer, Cam Spencer, or the other Spencer brother, I forget what Spencer brother plays for the Grizzlies. They were just running exclusively. Every team from the first preseason game is just going at Trey every single possession. And
they are.
so, like, with Jalen kind of doing his own thing, it's not great. Like, it's just like the Hawks are always in rotation when Trey's on the floor. Then it's always a scramble situation. They're either going to be in bad position to grab the defensive rebound, or they're going to give up an open 3-pointer like they did the entirety of the Hornets game. It felt like, and this Bulls game as well. And then also combined with in transition, like you have to match up properly in transition instead of before when Trey was out, you could just pick up whoever. Now these guys are having to communicate like it's a lot of mental load for them, and it's hurting them that there aren't like they're going to all these smaller lineups, like where they're always the smaller team. That's where I'm like, that's where it's like all confounding into like one big jumble of we're playing the worst defense in the NBA right now. So I do think small term Quinn's just got to figure out how to get Mo and the Congo playing together again, like hook or crook. That just has to be priority one. But they've got to get it, like you said, they got to get a backup center. But like these trade minutes are tough on defense. Like it's I don't know. Like it's really bad.
Just just fire one off here before I address what you said. One of the things I actually liked about this game, and it's like counterintuitive to like all the other things that I want to say, but like when Jalen got hurt in this game, scary moment. Thankfully, he was okay. Um, I thought Riza Shea was good in the power forward minutes. I thought that energized him a little bit. I don't know what got into him, but he got a little bit feistier in the paint, and he got he I think he got scored on in the post, or I think they tagged him with a foul or something, but I don't know why, but that energy, and I don't think of that as a solution. Like I think like we said, they've got to get a
But your
center,
thing,
and then where the
but your
minutes have to come from is the minutes have to come from Asa Newell and Luke Kennard. That's where you're you're getting your losing minutes right now, and a lot of it is because they're playing together. You've got too
yeah.
many bad defenders in the rotation, and if Trey's going to be in the rotation, and you're trying to think, oh, well, how do I cover all these other defensive issues? Like you do that for Trey, but then if the end result is okay, when Trey sits, we've got to, get some minutes from somebody else. Let's put in Luke and Asa. You're drawing dead at that point. Like they're not good enough defenders to make this work. So when you get that backup center, really, you've got to be digging into their minutes somehow. And maybe I, it's discouraging to see Asa play defense at this point. But like, if you do have to make it work, he needs to be playing power forward, not center. And those might be the minutes where you try to put Jalen as a three next to a couple of bigger players. Because if you're going to be doing this stuff with Trey and Onyeka at the point of attack, trying to get two on the ball 26 feet up the floor and trying to play 4-on-3 behind them, you need to be bigger and you need to be faster. And so, that might be a way to get Jalen into this. And Jalen has been pretty dreadful defensively for the last 3 weeks. But, just giving him more size and more help so that he doesn't have to do as many things as he does by himself might be helpful to him.
Yeah, and like your point about Ricochet at the four is a good one because it's just like you saw the energy that you need from that position. And that's not what we're getting from Jalen right now. And it's like, I mean, we've seen Jalen play better defense this. He's played better defense than this season. So hopefully, giving up 150 points at home to a Bulls team is a wake up call for this team to lock in on the defensive side of the floor. Because like while the defense isn't going to be great until they get a backup center or any type of center really, it shouldn't be this bad. Like it's kind of just automatic right now. Like it's just like these teams could sleepwalk to posting 120 points per possession, 1.2 points per possession on it on offense. So it's just like I think you know Jalen's got to play better on defense. That's obvious. But I also think Trey's got to give more effort. I don't. Maybe he's still hurt, but
I mean, he's got to get into shape first of all, too. Like,
yeah.
I
I
think
mean,
part of it's just getting to shape.
there's some of that, but like he's got to play harder. Like I mean, that's just the nature of the NBA today.
Yeah.
Like teams aren't giving him a break. He's got to play harder. And that means he got to play less minutes. And Quinn's got to play him less minutes until he gets his legs back because it can't be this easy. There are things he can do defensively to help his team out, and he is not doing them. Full stop. You can watch the tape,
Yeah.
and so like he's got to be better defensively. Jalen's got to be better defensively, and then we can talk about the other stuff that the Hawks got to clean up on defense. But like those two in particular, where it's like, because I get annoyed often when people are like, "Oh, the effort's just not good enough from the team." I'm like, I don't like blaming the team because I see how hard Dyson, Nikhil, Okongwu, Moge, Vit Krejci, even like these guys are playing their butts off.
Yeah.
But when then you watch, the two best players on the team, and like I, Jalen's one bag of worms, but like he's kind of consistently inconsistent on his defense. But that bare minimum, he still gives you quality rebound. And so like the problem is that Trey is giving them nothing, and he's not. He's got to pressure the ball. He's got to play with multiple efforts, and he's just got to compete more. It's more of like he's just not competing. I don't think I think I'm with you, Kevin. He's probably not in the best shape right now, game shape at least. But hey, he's got to bring it more. Like that's just kind of where the Hawks are in the short term. Um,
The thing about Jalen's defense is like it's like a combination of things. So like there's the things that he's doing well. First of all, like he has to get so many defensive rebounds for this team. And that's not a small thing. Like he is putting a lot of legs into these defensive rebounds. So like you've got to give him credit for that. But then at the same time, it's like there's all these other things. And so one is like just the mental side of it. Like there's times where I just don't think he's reading and recognizing things fast enough. And so you can't really just maybe you can pass that off as fatigue because he is doing so many other things that, maybe your read recognition kind of tapers off a little bit, but it that just seems like an easy thing to claw back. Like you just got to coach him up. Like he can't be so late making some of these rotations where it doesn't even look like a leg thing. It's just like he doesn't quite seem aware of it as quickly as he needs to be.
yeah,
There's others where, it's like a rotation and he'll make like the right read, but maybe he doesn't have the same legs for it that you would hope. Like when he's doing that much on offense and he's doing that much as a defensive rebounder, like, where do you save your legs? And it's like, well, he can kind of give this token rotation that doesn't have a lot of force behind it. But then there's other stuff like the transition defense. I thought they just lost it with bad transition defense. I thought there were like three times, and I think they were almost always Jalen. And again, how do you separate this and parse this all out? Like Trey is a part of it too. Like everybody's got to be a little bit better on transition defense when Trey comes back because even if his Trey is aware and back, like he's a nothing transition defense
that's
defender.
the problem. That's the problem. It's like
Yeah. So like
you got to
everybody's got
understand.
to be better. And so one thing that they're doing is that generally speaking, when the Hawks are out there with their starting lineup and somebody puts a shot up, Dyson has the green light to just go chase the offensive rebound. He's doing pretty well at it. Like last I checked, he was like 20th in the league in offensive rebounds. Like that's pretty good for a guard, right? Like everybody that had more offensive rebounds than Dyson was a center. Like every like all the 20 people above him, they're all centers. So it's like, okay, like he's doing a decent job as an offensive rebounder. And yet, now, especially with Trey back, I really don't like that because, okay, that's putting transition defense on Jalen. And just the track record is there. Like it's just not going to happen. Like he just doesn't see it. He doesn't, again, like where are you going to use your legs? Like he's not using his legs in transition defense. And I just feel like somebody like Dyson could be more attentive. Like just send Jalen because at least, defenses are going to have to respect with his size and his ability. Like send Dyson back and let Jalen crash. Like it, I don't know that that's a cure all, but I think it's going to be a better recipe than what they got going because if you've got Trey out there who's just not going to be a factor, you're going to send Dyson to crash the glass. You got Zachary probably in a corner. He's not really in a position to play transition defense. Then you just again like in a lot of
But I
situations,
think,
if Jalen has a brain fart there, you're drawing dead instantly.
yeah, but Kevin, the issue is where they're on the floor on a given position. Like Jalen's
Yeah.
always
No,
at the
part of it is,
position.
yeah, it's just this whole
Yeah,
shooting thing.
it's Dyson's shooting thing, right? Like where Dyson's in the dunker spot,
But
so
some of
he's
these
just
offensive rebounds that he's going for, he is going for from the 3-point circle.
yeah. I don't disagree necessarily. I just think mm, that they've got to figure out their principles in transition with Trey on the floor. I think they need to recognize that they got to play a little bit differently. on that. So maybe there's going to be some adjustment with that. But I don't know. I'm just sitting here. I'm like, it's a personnel problem. Like they don't have enough size. Like we're back to the lack of size problem. They they really need another center. Like it's kind of it's very honestly what how the Hawks are playing right now defensively is very similar to how the Hawks played when it was just a Congu last year and Larry Nance backing him up when Capella was out for the rest of the year. Like it's pretty much the same thing, except at least with that, you had Larry Nance and you could throw Mo Gay out there. Now you instead of that being Larry Nance, it's Ace and Newell. And like Ace for as limited as Nance was, Nance knew where to be on the floor. He was a
Yes.
professional. Asa has no idea what he's doing out there. And it's just
Yeah.
like the Hawks don't have the personnel to get away with playing somebody like Asa Newell, especially at center. So they gotta, honestly, hopefully in the next couple of days they sign somebody um, just to eat some minutes. Like I don't even think this basketball player needs to play like both halves. He just got to play like 5 minutes maybe a game so that you can give Mo, you can rotate Mo in and out there and like keep him from playing all of his like keep him you want because what Quinn has got to find a way to get back to is he's to me he's got to find a way to get back to getting Mo and Okongwu on the floor together at the same time. And also like you can also maybe help in the short term. Probably got to consider not playing Luke Kennard anymore for as valuable as his shooting is. And like I know understand he's a vet, but every coach before who's had Luke Kennard has come to the point of the season where they're like, we can't play Luke Kennard anymore because the juice isn't worth the squeeze on either end. And now that Trey's back, I don't know. I mean, it's just like offensively, like yes, Luke is a great shooter, but he doesn't get him up in volume and he's not aggressive. Combined, he basically plays like a wing. He doesn't play like a guard. If he played like a guard, I think you can get away with some of the stuff he does on the offensive side of the floor. I mean defensively, but because he doesn't, he's really more of a play finisher at this stage of his career. Like it's just not what the Hawks need. Like, I mean, he he's a way better shooter than Ricochet, but teams guard him the same way they guard Ricochet. Like they'll, is there's really no real difference between having those guys on the floor, except Ricochet is a significantly better defensive player. So that's where I'm like, these are the short term fixes, but
Yeah.
I really
Trey
I
was
think
on a 20-minute restriction against Charlotte and 26 in this game. And so eventually he's going to be, I don't know, what's he going to be? 34, 35 minutes, something like that. I mean, those should be Kennard minutes those are coming from because I mean, that's just the kind of player, they're not I'm not comparing Trey and Kennard, but like functionally the way you have to cover for them on defense and the way you have to respect them on offense, like they're functioning in a similar space of just that Kennard like has no real offensive teeth the way that Trey does. Like it's just if you can kind of stay close enough to sort of maybe make it look like a closeout, you did your job. He's not going to put the shot up.
yeah. Um yeah, that I mean it's just like that and like Luke, he's scared to dribble against
He's not going to
uh
shoot at the rim like Trey. Like it's just
pressure.
that there's a lot of similarities there. So
Yeah.
it's just kind of
So
easy to take from him and put those minutes to Trey.
yeah, but like, it's that's not going to necessarily fix defense, but I mean that's probably what is going to happen eventually. There's only, but there really is only so much in the short term right now if they're not going to sign a center. What the Hawks can do, like, I do think like the Jacob Toppin, even losing Jacob Toppin here hurts.
Yeah.
He could have been an option. Like you like okay, I don't like what Ricochet is giving me on offense somewhat. All right, you can try Toppin out a little bit. and at least you still maintain your size throughout. So like I mean it's tough. It's just the truth. Like Chris Stapps being hurt has kind of taken the sails out of the season a little bit here. Like I don't know when he's going to be coming back or if he's going to come back, but like
Yeah. Now the
they have.
timeline is like to I think it's today is 1 week into the what they said would be 2 weeks before he's reevaluated. So we're like halfway through the minimum, which is probably not going to quite be the minimum. It's probably going to be more than that, but we're halfway through his 2 weeks.
Yeah, I mean, because like what Porzingis had provided this team was size. Like, and I
Yes.
understand the Hawks had rebounding issues, but it was the rim protection when he was in the game was still good.
Yep.
And furthermore, I understand that the Porzingis Jalen Johnson 2 man was pretty bad. It's still way better than what they're getting without Chris Stapps at all in the game. Like
Yeah.
it's way better than what they've gotten from Ace and Newell.
And
And so
you can play a Kongwu and Porzingis together. Like that's
exactly,
fine.
and they
Especially with
that
the way you're playing right now. If Trey is going to be a non-factor defensively so that you've got to take every action up top and send two to the ball, then Chris Stapps is the kind of player you want on the back end of that.
yeah, so it's like a double edge. So it's like two issues. We're not getting the Kongwu Mo minutes anymore, and we're not getting Chris Stapps uh, a Kongwu minutes anymore. And like those lineups were pretty good in the sense that you play with real size and two guys who were professional adults and how they navigated themselves defensively. Um, yeah, no, I mean it's just, I, but you know, this kind of it feels like we could have said this last year when Jalen went out with this team with the lack of size. I said this 2 years ago when Jalen went out. Team had lack of size. Then they had two backup center. I mean, they had two centers. Now they have, but they had no power forwards. Now they have one center, one power forward, a couple tweeners. But like to me, like the overarching issue is the lack of size, and like part of that lack of size is just having Trey Young on the team. Like he's just very small, so you have to constantly play him with size and skilled players. But I mean, it's just tough. Like it's just kind of and I think NBA teams like overall, this season more than ever, have been relentless attacking bad matchups. Like just every team is just relentlessly attacking whoever the weakest link is. Like that has been the overarching like theme of this. You watch any team, like my,
Tell me about Cleveland.
I mean, the Cleveland Cavaliers. Like look at Cavs. Look at whenever the Magic play like not one of like Tyus Jones, I think. Look at I mean, honestly, look at the Sixers. Sometimes when it's when they go super small at the guard spot, like and it's combined with Embiid's lack of mobility. I mean, every team is just relentlessly hunting these guys. And so like I think we're seeing the ground shift because I remember Kevin when we did this podcast when we started this podcast we talked about how offense was more important than defense. And that was like true back in the 2021, 2022 seasons. Like that was legitimately true. Like it was easier to get defensive personnel than it was good offensive players that could break a scheme and force teams to play defense. What's happened in the last 5 or so years now is that everybody has gotten so much more skilled on the offensive side of the floor.
Yeah.
Everyone.
Yep.
Like uh, even take Dyson Daniels and Zachary Richardson, for example. If you don't respect them, they will go off on you. Like, and they're the two worst offensive players the Hawks consistently play on a night-to-night basis. We see Mo Gay go off on a team, and that's just for the Hawks. But this is every team is this talented. Every
Yeah.
team throws out five guys. who will absolutely roast a team's worst defender if you don't properly protect them. And with how the Hawks now that the Hawks only have one center, they can't consistently protect Trey. They can't, and to trade Jalen, man, it's like defensively, it's just been a mess. But like those are your two best players. You need them to give you more on that side of the floor. Just because the NBA requires you to give more on the defensive side of the floor. So I just think, with how this era of this team, the era of the NBA is going, like it's just tough with Trey's physical limitations and Jalen's like limited. I don't know how to describe his defensive limitations, but the limitations are real on that. You can't trust him from a game to game basis to give you what you need on the defensive side of the floor. So it's like those two guys are your best players. It's tough to build a quality defense. You know, it's just tough to build a consistently good defense when that's the case. So like, again, theme of the pod. Hopefully they get it back up center because
Yeah,
it's been way past
it's
time.
been way too long. We're past the expiration date. You know what? This podcast has been pretty dire and rightfully so. But I mean, you were just talking about the combination of Trey and Jalen on defense. But I have to say, like, Trey came back with a little less than 7 minutes left in this game. And Trey and Jalen played well together. And
Yes.
yeah, the Hawks scored 150 points, but it's not just that Trey was good and Jalen was good. They were leveraging each other those last 7 minutes. And that's really good.
Yep.
They had
Yes.
Trey setting screens for Jalen. Jalen used it, and you could see, one person stuck on Trey's screen, the other one, and they both kind of, realized that, okay, we've got to both go to Jalen for a second here, or he's going to dunk it. And they did. Trey, does the pick and pop, and he's open for a three. It's like there was one play where Trey was kind of trickly dribbling, and it looked like he was just going to try to, do the one-on-one switching. I've got to try to beat this switching defense by myself thing. And it got to like 11 on the clock, and then he realized, wait a minute, that's Jalen right there with Trey Jones guarding him. I'm just going to give him the ball. And he did it, and Jalen went and scored. Like, it felt like they were realizing what they can do for each other on offense. And even though they didn't win this game, I just think that was a super encouraging sign, even as everything went to pot on the defensive end. Like offensively, it wasn't
And
just that
so,
they were good, it was that they were good together, utilizing each other as best they could.
and if they can leverage that more consistently throughout the game, maybe that forces teams to play more defensive personnel, less offensive oriented lineups, less pressure on Trey and Jalen to be good on the defensive end. So that's kind of where the positive outcome comes in here. It again, I would feel a lot better. Like if I do feel if Kristaps was healthy and available, they'd be fine. Like the defense wouldn't be as disastrous as it has been.
All right. Miss you, Glenn. Hope to have you back here soon. And good night, Bob.
Good night, Bob.